Westchester Jewish Coalition for Immigration. And I'm your host for this little activity today. I'm Ruth Geyer, and I'm part of the board of Neighbors for Refugees, and I just help out with some advocacy efforts. Frank Pearson is our president. And Frank, I'd like you to unmute yourself and say a few words about NFR.
Can you hear me?
Yep, I do.
Thank you. Thanks, Ruth. Welcome, everyone. I want to just, as Ruth said, I'm president of Neighbors for Refugees. I'd like to just take this first moment just to thank all of you on behalf of Neighbors for Refugees, WJCI is our partner in this, and all the Afghan refugees needing our help. It's important that we all support this, the Afghan Adjustment Act, to help these people have a solid future here in the U.S. Just quick synopsis of Neighbors, if I could. Neighbors was founded 5 years ago in response to actually a very different crisis. That was the mass exodus of refugees from Syria instead of Afghanistan. Over the last 5 years, we've assisted thousands of refugees and welcomed dozens of new families. And since last fall, we've been actively welcoming new families more than ever before, to the tune of 1 or 2 a week, and giving assistance to those families who come here well in advance of last year's evacuation. People have been here for a while. We're also talking to many groups and giving advice and sharing our experiences with many groups. Some of you representatives are probably on this Zoom today. Beyond the work of our mission, of our resettlement work, this advocacy work is an important part of what we do. It's part of our mission. And so today, I hope you all are looking forward. I'm looking forward to hearing more about how we can help get the passage of this new act to support refugees. And again, thank you all for joining us in this very, very important work. Thank you.
Thanks, Frank. We also have with us, and she is a co-host today, the president of the Westchester Jewish Coalition for Immigration, Holly Rosen-Fink. Holly, why don't you tell us a little bit?
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Frank. It's such an honor to be here. I see so many familiar faces, and it's just incredible to see so much compassion in one room on a beautiful Sunday afternoon, kind of cool. But anyway, WJCI mobilizes the Jewish community to welcome refugees, asylum seekers, and other immigrants to communities in Westchester and throughout New York where they can live safely with dignity. Since last April, we stepped up as an organization to protect the lives of Afghan evacuees and are dedicated to passing the Afghan Adjustment Act to ensure their safety. Several of our team members are here today: Marty Michael, Laura Lewis, Amy Beth, Ruth Rossi, Jeff Swerz, Alan Himmelstein, and as well as members of our amazing community. So thank you everyone for coming. And we're grateful to Neighbors for Refugees for the partnership on this important event.
Thanks, Holly. Well, we're going to love working with WJCI. And for those of you who are here, who are already hosting refugees, resettling refugees, helping refugees, just supporting us, thank you. And if you want to know more about it, please contact either of our groups, and we're here to help you out in getting started. So I'm just moving my box out of my way. So what do we mean by an Afghan Adjustment Act? I think that's the main issue. I'm so sorry. I have to take my finger off the mouse sometimes. What is the Afghan Adjustment Act? Well, there isn't one, but let's explain why we need an act. We don't need to go through all the numbers. You know that there are thousands of Afghans evacuated and thousands brought to the United States. And many have already left. Obviously, some of them came roundabout. They were in other countries for a while at other bases, but ended up here at a military base to be processed, medical, work permits, etc., and then finding places for them to go. And some of them came here. Some of them are right here in New York, and with resettlement agencies all across the United States. Some of them had family members. But now they're trying to start their new lives here. And we know that was a very hasty departure from Afghanistan. We don't need to review that. But because of that, even though most of these people already had connections to the US government, they worked for the government in Afghanistan and were entitled to visas, other kinds of visas. Because of that departure, they were given quickly humanitarian parole visas so they could get on a flight and safely and legally enter the United States. Some of you also know that at the end of last year, I have to get this out of my way here. I'm being bothered by my box here. There were resettlement funds allocated to help pay for this, to help pay for these refugees to come here. That was a temporary spending bill. These were, this was money that included some things that could help them when they first got here, but they're not entitled to all the benefits that refugees would get when they arrive here. And the humanitarian parole visa expires after 2 years. By the way, normally humanitarian parole visa is for 1 year. These are emergency visas when there's a humanitarian crisis somewhere in the world and refugees have to leave or they're going to be in grave danger. So they come here with hoping that we can find them some more permanent way to stay. But with the Afghans, that bill also included the provision that the visas would expire in 2 years instead of 1. 1 year more is good, but 2 years is very difficult when these people are trying to start their new lives in the United States. So all of us involved in resettlement believe that these Afghans need adjustment. They need their status adjusted. That's why it's called Afghan Adjustment Act, because then they would be documented refugees entitled to permanent residence in the United States and also entitled to more benefits. So right now there is none. There is no act, does not exist. We have to ask our senators and representatives to support an Afghan Adjustment Act. What I just explained. We have to change their status from humanitarian parole to refugee. We would also like the funding for that act to be included in the spending bill. So I told you 2021 we had a temporary stopgap spending bill. And there's always a lot of arguing about the big omnibus spending bill. But we had one, it's going to expire. There's going to be another one, and there will be a vote. We're asking that an Afghan Adjustment Act can be worded just that way, be included in that big omnibus spending bill. We could ask them for a standalone Afghan Adjustment Act bill, but let me explain briefly. If we include it in the omnibus, it's more likely to pass because no one will hold up the spending bill for that. But if we give a standalone bill, there could be some objections to it, and we could be in a difficult place in trying to get a nonpartisan vote on that Afghan Adjustment Act. So we want an Afghan Adjustment Act, we want it, but we would just like it to be passed quickly. We want it to be included in the appropriations bill. And by the way, we've passed adjustment acts in the past history of the United States. We did it for the Cubans who came here on humanitarian parole. We did it after the Vietnam War. We did it after we left Iraq, and we had a lot of Iraqi refugees here. So, and in those cases, in at least 2 of them, the 2 more recent ones, it was included in the omnibus spending bill. That is how it was done. So if our senators and representatives agree on this and agree with us that it's necessary, I think they'll totally understand that it should be in the spending bill. So that's a fine point. But in what we want to do is just get our message across. We want them to do something, right? We want them to get this adjustment in place. So HIAS, I think everyone knows who HIAS is, this wonderful worldwide organization, essentially, that assists refugees and immigrants and is very, very active and in a leadership role, in fact, on all of these issues. They are sponsoring a national call-in day on Tuesday for an Afghan Adjustment Act. And we want to flood the offices of all our representatives and senators all across the country all day long on Tuesday, February 8th, 2 days from now, from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. And we're asking you to participate by making a call on that day, by signing up for a time slot so that we have a steady stream of calls all day long on Tuesday. And you can sign up now because we're going to put a link right in the chat room. Give me a second, but I'm going to just open it up here. And remember, you're getting this PowerPoint, you're getting all the links in an email, so you don't have to even do it right now. But I do it before Tuesday so that you're signed up. So the sign up sheet looks like this. And there's two tabs here when you open it up. This one is for your representative. It's your representative sheet. So if you'll see, example, I signed up for 11:30 a.m. on Tuesday. And you're going to put your name, your email, your state. And I'm asking you to put your representative here just to remind yourself who they are, because look, in all fairness, sometimes people forget who their representative is, redistricting and all that. You can find it at this link right here.
Ruth,
Yes.
the form is not showing. I think you need to share.
I can see it.
I can't see it.
See the form, Ruth.
I can't see it either.
Okay. All right. Sorry. We'll go back to that at
Maybe
the end.
Ruth, maybe
I'm gonna-
just share, Ruth, just
Yeah.
share the link in the chat and we can copy
I'm going to share the link in the chat.
Okay, good.
And then at the end, we can open it up and take a look at it again. Let me just take my link, make sure I have it. I'm going to put it in the chat.
Ruth, if you want to show it, you have to stop sharing this.
Yeah, I
PowerPoint.
know. So that's why I'm going to do it at the end. I'll show it at the end. Okay. And just to walk you through it so that it's pretty self-explanatory once you open up the link, but we'll open it up at the end. So I'll stop sharing this and share that. There you go. Sorry, I thought you could all see that. So the idea is sign up for a time slot on Tuesday, and the sign up sheet makes it easy. Now, Haya's asked us to do the sign up sheet because they want two things. They want people to make a commitment to that phone call. And they want to know how much participation they're getting on Tuesday. And they might want a little feedback from you too. So I have a column in there for you to just let us know if you got through to anyone or you had to leave a message. So more importantly, it's like, now, what do I say when I call? And once you understand what we're doing here, you can talk in your own words. That's always the best, right? You know what you want to get across and you just tell it, just say it to the person. You're going to get an aide who answers the phone, and you just want to let them know, most importantly, you're calling in support of an Afghan Adjustment Act. And please include it in the upcoming appropriations bill, spending bill. You can also add that you support resettlement of the refugees, and I needed an extra comma in here or a period, but those who came on humanitarian parole need a path to permanent status. End of story. They have to have a way to stay here. We can't have them risk being sent back to Afghanistan on the whim of another administration, or having to go through the asylum process, because that is going to be clogged up so badly that it's going to be untenable. It will be much easier on everyone, and it has precedent, and we can afford it, and just to simply let these people become refugees. Now, the phone lines may be busy, so you're going to sign up for a slot like 11:30, like I did. I'm going to keep trying in my half-hour time slot, 11:30 to 12. I'm going to keep trying to get through. Sometimes you call 5 times, but somebody finally picks up. Just keep trying. But if you don't get through, leave a message. What if you can't leave a message? What if the box is full? I'm going to tell you, please, please consider how important this is. It's a phone call. Make that phone call on Wednesday. If you never get through at all, not even to leave a message on Tuesday, then call on Wednesday. If I don't get through on Wednesday, I'm calling on Thursday. So you want to get at least that message through. You want to at least be able to leave a message, okay? So that's what I said here. And I want to remind you, always include, whether you're talking to someone or leaving your address and your zip code, to leave or leaving a message, always remember to include your name, address. They like your address, but just tell them your zip code and your town at least. And there's also additional numbers if you're very determined, like I am, and I hope you are. Many of them have multiple numbers that you can call. I'm going to give you their main numbers here for this area, but you can keep trying their Washington number, then you can try their New York number. You can keep trying and trying and trying. So remember, any call you make matters. Every call you make matters. Just make the call, okay? We'd like you to call your representative, 2 senators. But if you can only call one person, call your representative. They're the ones where this process starts. But we do want the senators to be on board with it. So here's where I'm just going to include some links for you so you have them at your fingertips when you get this PowerPoint. These are the links to find your representative and your senators. And I know many of you know who they are, but these links will take you immediately to them and their page where you'll see all their phone numbers and addresses very, very quickly. I included our New York senators here for you. So you have it right there to call. Call the Washington number first, but try the other offices. And the senators have more offices than even the 3 that I put here. But that's your main phone call up there to make from your sign-up sheet on Tuesday. And here are your representatives in this area. I know some of you here may live in New Jersey or Connecticut, and you have other representatives. So I couldn't possibly anticipate or include them all here, but you'll find them. You have them. But here are my representative is Jamal Bowman. All 3 of these gentlemen are wonderful supporters of refugee and immigration issues. And when I make calls, I like to thank them too for that right off the bat. Representative Bowman, for example, was helpful to me personally to help bring one refugee family out of Kabul during the evacuation. One of their staff members worked with me and advocated for them. So, I say we can take a few minutes now, but this will be more at the end, that what you can do. But I want to show you that, whoops, I keep touching the mouse, sorry. That I am going to, in the past, Third Thursday was always about writing postcards, and I've told you how important that is, but I'm going to be writing cards too for this issue. So not only the phone call flood, I would like people to have a little postcard or card flood. And it doesn't have to be a postcard. I wrote a postcard for Senator Schumer. I started it. I've got to finish his address here. It's a postcard, right? And also, I'm sending a card, and just a note card. This is what is a black-bellied plover, one of my Audubon cards. And it's going to go to Jamal Bowman. So it's a regular note card, blank note card. We all have little cards sitting around, that we don't use. I don't write a lot of notes and letters anymore, but I have some stuff around. You can even write it on a blank piece of paper. But I'd like notes to go out tomorrow. So that's why I'm saying it when we stay and we're doing Q&A, maybe you can go pull out some of that or write on a piece of paper to tuck into a note card and send that same message. I support an Afghan Adjustment Act. All right. So I'm going to thank you before we go on to questions. And as soon as I close this up, I'll just open up that sign up sheet one more time. And then what we'll do is we're going to go to Holly is going to field some of the questions that showed up in the chat. And we'll have time for people to mute and unmute themselves, and we'll answer any questions that you have. All right. Thank you again. And you know where to go if you want to contact either of our groups. So I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to go back to speaker view there. And Holly, let me first share. I'm going to share this this sheet, sign up sheet. There, everyone can see this? I believe so. This is the sign up sheet, and you can see there's just little time slots I signed up, Holly has signed up, and to add, this is the page for your representative. You can click on the link here to find them quickly if you offhand don't know. And one more column to just tell me, did you actually speak to someone or did you leave a message? And that's just a little feedback that's optional. So once you sign up, I want to see this whole thing populated with people signing up. And at the bottom, there's some tabs. Geez, where are they? Down at the bottom here, let me make it small, a little shorter. There we go. Down at the bottom, you'll see, senators. So there's two tabs here. One is representative and one senators. So I'm calling also my two senators. And the same little feedback, if you care to put that in. So it's just a reminder of, you have it. When did I sign up? I forgot what time. And, if you forgot, just make a call anytime on that day and give it a try. So I'll stop sharing that. And right now, I think we'll open it up to just questions, a little Q&A. So Holly, do you have some people with questions?
Yes. Lois Har asked, does this mean at the moment there's nothing even written or introduced as a bill yet?
Yes, it does. Absolutely correct. Nothing has been introduced yet.
And Jamel Wilson asked, is there any advantage on the phone call to identifying ourselves as members of a group, NFR, WJCI, or a congregation?
Yeah, absolutely. Tell them I'm part of a group that supports resettlement. We are resettling people. I put my heart and soul into this. I know Afghans. We are welcoming them with open arms. Absolutely. That's why it's wonderful if you get to talk to someone. But, the message, when you get to leave a message, you can leave a long message too. Show that passion.
And Lois again, hi Lois, asked, should we call local district offices or DC?
I always start with DC because they're usually better staffed, especially with COVID. A lot of the regional offices were not fully operational, and they were only taking messages. But just try them all. I don't know if one's better than any other.
And Ruth Rothseed asked, does it make sense to contact Schumer and McConnell?
Well, Schumer for sure. Well, if he's my senator, I'm definitely going to call on him. Sometimes I do contact other people, even if they're not my senator or representatives. You know why? Because they are also leaders in our government, and they're in charge of big issues and making big decisions. And they should listen to all Americans. That's my feeling. People are heads of important committees. People are heads of their party, heads of Congress and Senate. So, a lot of people don't have the time or the energy to call or talk to everyone. When we wrote postcards, we wrote to a lot of people like that, heads of committees. And so there's always a value in it. There's always a value in making your voice heard for as much as you have the time and energy for. But start with your representative.
Ruth, like you said, every phone call, every letter, they're counting up everything that they get, right?
Yep.
Carolyn Hoffman asked, should we send this information to others who are not here today?
Yes. And some people have contacted me and said they couldn't be here today. So they'll get the recording in the PowerPoint and in the sign-up sheet and all of that. And remember, even if you don't get a spot in the sign-up sheet, by the way, I'll add more slots. But I think once we get 4 people signed up for the same time slot, I think we're doing pretty good.
I think so too.
Yeah. So I think there's room for everybody in there. But yeah, everybody can have this information. And in fact, tomorrow we'll be flooding the social media and everything with HIAS's links, because HIAS is starting now, right now, to promote this. I wanted to have a day today to be able to be here with you and urge you to do it personally from our group, and also help you understand the issue and ask your questions about it.
Great. And WJCI will be sending out an email in the morning too, with Ruth's PowerPoint and all the links that you need to from HIAS. Ann Spindle, hi Ann. Where is the form going to be to sign up and go back to?
Well, it's a link. It'll be a link that you can open up anytime. It's a Google Doc. And so, and whenever you want to, if you want to go back to first, you just save that email that you get the link in, because you can always go back to that email and click on the link, and the document's always going to be there. Just whatever you typed in will still be there. You never have to say save or anything like that on one of these. It's as soon as you type it in, it's there, and you can change it at any time. It's editable.
And Ruth and I are very similar. We will both be available for anything that you guys need. Just send us an email.
Yeah.
Info at neighbors, actually your email, Ruth, right?
Mhm.
Ours is
Either one.
info at, sorry, say your email.
It's on that last page of the PowerPoint.
It is.
Geyer, it's my last name and first initial at gmail.com.
Right. And ours is info at wjci.org.
And Neighbors for Refugees is Neighbors for Refugees.
Info at neighborsforrefugees.
Info at neighborsforrefugees.org.
No,
So
that one.
it's a longer one.
I'm sorry,
Well-
Ruth. When are you going to send out all these notes?
Right after this, when we're all done here today. So you have it tonight.
I do want to circle back to Lois Haar. Hi, Lois. I can't quite make out your question about co-sponsors. So if you would like to speak out loud, you say, should be them to write, I think it was a typo, so please.
Yeah, let
It's
her
very-
unmute herself. Yeah.
Please
It
unmute.
reflects that I never took typing in high school. I was asking if there's nothing written yet that's sitting in Congress, either house, is there anything that HIAS or any of the other resettlement agencies has sort of written that could be shown to them? And then also, should we ask some of them, would you be a co-sponsor? Will you introduce it and be a co-sponsor? Because they can't support something if it doesn't exist yet. There's nothing to support, right?
Yes, and that was my first thought. What they want is for the messaging for Tuesday to simply be, I want an Afghan Adjustment Act, not here's how to do it or any of those things. And, you know, I'm pretty certain that there are people in HIAS who may be involved in a process like that when the time comes, but it's pretty complicated to write a bill. So we wouldn't have anything like that right now. For example, the Cuban bill and the bill for the people after the Vietnamese who came here, there were a lot of guidelines, and there was a lot to it because there are limitations. You had to have been born in Cuba, and you had to have come during a certain window of time. So they would have to put all those provisions into the bill. And the staff members of our Congress people and senators are very well qualified to do that. And I have a feeling they may have thought about this before, but we're getting them off the fence and saying we have to do it, and we support it. So, hey, if you can have a lengthy conversation about that with somebody you get hold of on the phone, let us know, because I did not get that answer from Mr. Bowman. I have not gotten anything back from them any response that shows that they have anything in the works or they're sponsoring anything. And again, if it goes in the appropriations bill, it actually makes it simpler for them to include the act. They'll probably just use a boilerplate from one of the other acts. And like for Iraq, for example, it was very, very similar situation. So, and they'll have people who are well trained, you know, to put that kind of wording together and include it. But that was a great question. Other people, unmute yourself and just speak up now. I think we can. Very good. Okay. I would like to know how many of you are going to be writing a card for me, a card or a note, a postcard to put in the mail. Excellent. Excellent. Kind of, you know, postcards are really dear to my heart, you know, they work. I've been writing letters, cards, postcards, and note cards for about 40 years. And
I think
I've
I'm going to
seen,
send it, Ruth, I'm going to send Valentine cards.
absolutely, you know, some people send birthday cards. They know when the senator's birthday is, you know, and then you kind of thank them, but then you tell them what's on your mind. Yeah, it's
Can I
absolutely.
just show something that I've made
Yeah.
for
Hi, Marty.
exactly this kind of thing? Hi, I have
Ah,
a whole bunch of these postcards. That's a picture of me. And it says, this is me. I am a concerned American voter. And on the other side, it has my whole address, and that's it. And I use it
beautiful.
for everything.
Beautiful.
And so I think when they see you, it kind of makes a difference.
Yeah,
So,
that's really
yeah.
nice. And
Yeah.
you know, neighbors, we've done postcarding and we have our own postcards, and I used to distribute those for people, you know, and it has very welcoming pictures on the front of refugees. But you know, you don't have to make things if you don't have those on hand. But that is a great idea, Marty. I like that a lot.
Thank you.
Can I just ask if the omnibus appropriations bill that you're talking about, Ruth, is the one that's still being kicked around?
Yes.
You know, and I don't know what it's called anymore, but is constantly being chiseled down.
Yes.
So,
yeah.
so will it be too late to incorporate it into that?
No, I don't think so, because adjustment is not costly. It's not necessarily going to cost more than what we're already going to have to spend. Because if these people stay here, for example, seeking asylum, it just brings a whole lot of new complications and problems, you know, that are going to have to be solved. So it could all be solved very quickly by entering them into an adjustment act. Just simply adjust their status. We don't have to worry about flooding the asylum system. And you know, quite frankly, my concern is more that you know that the president has set a number for the number of refugees who can enter the United States every year. So this will be a big chunk of that if they get moved into the refugee category. And that's fine, but it means other refugees, you know, but you know, they could just add it on and consider it another category, but they might subtract it. Because remember, there's lots of other people in the world who need to come here. So we're hoping that we can settle the Afghan issue.
My understanding is that even as a refugee, sooner or later, they will need to apply for asylum. No?
No, oh, no. They do not have to do that. They will have to apply, well, they will want to apply for their green card.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay.
And they're eligible to, that's what you want. You want to get to the place where you're eligible to apply for your green card.
Mhm.
And they will do that because that means that they're good, right? So, but no, you seek asylum when you're here and you really don't have status.
Right.
So,
Right.
great.
Can
Well,
you explain the difference between refugee and asylum status?
yeah, refugees are, it's a very long process. They're outside the United States. They're in a crisis situation. They're fleeing war, danger, famine, persecution, and they apply for refugee status through agencies that are available to them. The International Rescue Committee, for example, they go to offices in their country, their region, to say, I need to flee. And of course, those agencies are present in refugee camps. They have representatives wherever these crises are occurring. And the people will say, I need to get out. How do I get out of here? And they'll say, okay, we're going to start you in the refugee application process. And so they go through vetting, they go through a lot in that process until they're saying, okay, we are going to accept you into our refugee program and give you a visa. And then they get sent to the United States or, in our case, or other countries. So they enter with a visa as a refugee, and they are entitled to stay here with refugee status. People seeking asylum come into the country without that through various routes, and they may come on a traveling visa or a student visa, but then they decide they need to stay here. And now what do? If they want to stay here, they have to apply for asylum. They don't have that refugee status that others came into. So, I'm not going to pretend that I can go through all the different categories of visas that exist, but let's just say that you have to apply. A non-documented immigrant, for example, who came here, if they can prove that they were persecuted in their home country and that it would be a danger to go back, they can apply for asylum. And that means they would then get status and be able to stay here.
Ruth,
Can I ask one more question of you, Ruth? Do you know?
Yes, and there are other people who might be able to be more knowledgeable about this than I am, the process.
Do you know if HIAS is providing lawyers, either pro bono or lawyers right now, to help people who are already here, who came recently, to apply for asylum?
Holly, do you want to answer that?
I would guess that they are, but I'm not 100%.
Marty
Marty?
knows.
Yeah, I can answer that question. I've worked for a number of years at the southern border with the asylum seekers who are coming up from Latin America. And I can tell you that a lot of what the quote process is not happening. HIAS does have pro bono lawyers. They can't possibly deal with the number of people coming through. I've seen mass asylum hearings where there are 50 people in an asylum hearing. None of them speak English. None of them have a pro bono lawyer. There's one immigration judge and they all get deported. What's happening with most, I would say 99% of the asylum seekers coming through the southern border who have an international legal right to apply for asylum, they get turned right around, put on a plane, and at the moment they're all being sent to Guatemala, whether they're from Guatemala or not. This is not legal according to international law. They have no opportunity to apply for asylum. If they do, by a miracle, the few of them have the opportunity to apply for asylum, they are then admitted across the border, except not now during the pandemic. Now there's the Remain in Mexico policy. So they may have applied for asylum, but they have to wait in Mexico where it is very dangerous and they have no place to live until who knows when that ends. But then if they are allowed into this country, having applied for asylum, they go to their sponsor and wait for their asylum hearing. And since our immigration system has been dismantled, there are no asylum hearings. They may wait 2 years in the United States with their sponsor for their asylum hearing, at which point they are deported again. So our asylum system is completely broken, and that is not the way to go.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I do know there are many organizations that do provide legal services for people. There just aren't enough, and they are
Very
struggling
few.
too, because there's no, what can they do
Right.
when the system is broken?
Right.
So it's really hard on these people. And I'll just say that that's one of the things Neighbors for Refugees does is we provide small grants to people who have been out on it. They don't have a resettlement family or a church or a group helping them anymore, and they're trapped in the system and they are in a dire situation. And some of them, we work with some of the group agencies and organizations, nonprofits in New York City and around our area who have clients that they submit applications on behalf of who are exactly in this situation. They have been tortured, they've been held by ICE and beaten up, they have every right to be afraid to go back to their country for persecution reasons, some of them because of maybe their sexual orientation, but they have no money to pay for a lawyer, to go through this complicated process. Plus they would have to wait, and in the meantime, they're illegal. I don't like to use that. They're undocumented, which restricts their lives. It's hard to get a job. It's hard to build a life. Alan, I see you raising your hand there.
Yeah, I just want to add, I share Marty's negative and pessimistic view generally. I just think that we should be specific when we're talking about Afghans who've come here on humanitarian parole, that it's potentially somewhat better. First of all, if they are working with HIAS, they should have a caseworker. They should be talking to their caseworker about their immigration status. So if they have an SIV already approved, they're good. Okay, they'll be able to get their green card. If they don't have it already, their family can get it. Yeah. The other possibilities are either that they have humanitarian parole with what they call, I think it's SI. So basically they're well along in their process and they still haven't had their interview or their final hearing, but they're almost at that point. And those people, again, it should be doable even within this time frame. And then there are those who came here on humanitarian parole and their SIV, either they didn't have an SIV application or the SIV application hasn't gone very far in the process. And again, they can be speaking to HIAS. HIAS does have attorneys, both on staff and pro bono, who can be helping with asylum cases for those where asylum makes sense. And that's one of the questions is, depending on where you are in your SIV process, do you continue with that process, or do you go for asylum, or do you go for both? Because you actually can do both if you're afraid that the SIV process will take too long. Correct. That's the summary.
And the SIV process is taking too long. It's taking forever. And my friend who came here, he has got an application for an SIV, the special immigrant visa, which is specifically for these people who help the military in the United States. And it's like refugee visa. It's like a standard visa that they come here, they are refugees, they can stay, apply for the green card. It's complete. They told him it was complete. Has he gotten the final approval? No. So, how many months have gone by already, and 2 years will go by very quickly. So it just leaves everybody hanging with, well, what exactly are we supposed to do? And it takes time and it takes money. And absolutely, most of the Afghans are going to have agencies who will work with them and help support them through their process, at least to caseworkers who will, and then they'll have resettlement folks like us. And so we have to hope for the best, but Afghan adjustment would be just fantastic. It would just get, we wouldn't have to worry about the SIV approval anymore. It would simply be adjustment would settle, their status here in the United States automatically with the Afghan Adjustment Act.
Ruth, Gabby and Carolyn have their virtual hands raised, so I just want to make sure they don't have.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, I'm trying to look at people who want to talk. Gabby? Unmute, you have to unmute.
Yeah, no, I had just raised my hand saying that I will write.
That was your, okay.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Anybody else? Because we can wrap it up and you can.
Ruth, I just want to ask Marty a question. Marty, are you still going to the border?
I can't go now because of the pandemic, where Mexico is not allowing Americans across the border. So I can help in Texas, which is where, when I go to Texas and cook meals and bring them across the border to the people who are stuck there. Can't do that now. So I can go to Texas and help in small ways, but there aren't many people allowed from Mexico across to Texas who need help. So the answer is pretty much no. I haven't been down there in a year and a half. And the moment that there is something that I can do on either side of the border, I am out of here, because there are thousands and thousands of people who need help. People on this call have come with me. I just saw Lois, who was also inspired to go down to the border and help out of Laredo, Texas. So there will be a lot to do again once the Biden administration can get past the legal impediments that which put MPP back into effect, and then pass the humongous task of rebuilding an entire immigration system. It's been decimated, the number of judges, etc. So I don't know that that's going to happen during a first Biden administration. It could take that long to just put it all back together again.
Well, Marty, if there's any advocacy action that we can work on with you together, you let us know, because I'd like
Thank you.
to consider the southern border issue in another event that we might have. In the
Great.
future.
I would love that. Thank you. That's my
What is
passion,
an
obviously.
Ruth, would you put up again the wording that you had for the postcards or cards that we're sending out right away?
Yeah, let me just share the screen again, the slide that has that on it. And, you know, you're going to get this immediately in an email. So,
Oh, okay. So don't worry about it.
Yeah, and you're just in your own words. The simplest message is, I support an Afghan Adjustment Act. Get it in however you can. That is the message, really. And they need to hear from us. They need to know that we know what this is. We know that it is possible to do. It's very possible to do. And their constituency supports it. So that's the basic message.
Ruth, are you sending around the PowerPoint or the video?
I'll send both. You know,
Okay.
some people may not want to watch the video, but they can just open the PowerPoint and have the live links in it.
The only reason why I say that is that the video recordings of Zoom can take an hour to 3 hours to process.
Yeah, nobody wants to see all that.
Right.
So
No,
it's, it'll be there if you do, but I think it's better to just look at the PowerPoint that has all the stuff in it.
No, I was just going to caution people, if you're looking for the video, it won't come immediately as you promised. So anyway.
Well, it's not going to be instantaneously, but it comes as an MP3, you know, and then your computer has to open it up. But so I personally don't usually watch the videos after, but that's why it'll be real clear in the email that I send. Brief email, links included.
Ruth, Tamara Duker-Fruman, hi Tamara. She actually put a comment that I find really interesting about getting her kids to write postcards. And I think that's a great idea.
It's a great idea.
And I just wanted to mention it to all of you. Please do bring your kids and your teens into this, because it will impact them and it will make a real difference.
And the reason that we're doing this now, this week, is because of that appropriations bill. Because it is, as was mentioned, it is right in this moment being framed. And so what's going to go in there has to go in there soon. And so we, over the next week or 2 weeks, postcards are wonderful, calls are wonderful. You know, we want everybody to know about this. And so share it with your groups, share it with your classes, your children, the Girl Scouts, you know, the Rotary, whoever you have that can get on board with this. Do it. You'll have all the information you need to do it in the PowerPoint. And then there were links that we sent in the invitation for the Zoom of articles. And if you want me to send those again, I'll send those again. I'll just put them in the follow-up email.
Will the sign-up sheet be in the email too? With
the link to the sign-up sheet will be in there. You just click on the link and you'll be at the sign-up sheet.
Okay, when with the omnibus bill, are the components of it separate acts that go into it? So is it still an Afghan Adjustment Act, or is it?
Yeah, that confused me too. But in my reading about the past acts. There was some that were done differently, and then some had follow-up bills, but yes, an act can be included in an omnibus bill.
Okay,
There's,
thank you.
when you read one of these bills, it's incredible how long they are and how much things they pack into them, which is why it takes them so long and they squabble so much. Okay, I think I'm going to wrap it up, and you know where to find us all. And I want to thank you again, and from the bottom of my heart, all the work that you're all doing and helping us out here and helping these refugees who definitely deserve it and need it. Okay?
Thank you, Ruth, and thank you, Frank.
Have a great evening.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye, everybody.